My daughter-in-law took everything, even my son's love. When my daughter-in-law told me to leave, I smiled instead of crying. I don't know why I smiled. Maybe because tears had already dried up inside me long ago. I stood by the doorway with my old suitcase, watching her turn away. She didn't shout. She didn't insult me directly. She just said, "Mom, I think it's time you have your own space." Own space. Those two words sounded polite, almost kind, but they carried a meaning I couldn't ignore. You are no longer needed here, and so I smiled. Because if I didn't, I would have fallen apart. The beginning. My name is Margaret. I'm 68 years old. I spent most of my life raising my son, Daniel. His father passed away when Daniel was only 9. For years, it was just the two of us. A quiet house, a simple life, and our little rituals that kept us close. Every evening, I'd sit by the kitchen table waiting for him to come home from school. He'd run in, drop his bag, and talk about everything. The new teacher, his friends, his small victories. I'd listen like it was the most important news in the world. When you raise a child alone, they become your whole purpose. Every meal, every sacrifice, every prayer revolves around them. Daniel grew up to be kind and ambitious. He got into a good university, studied engineering, and later found a job in another city. I was proud, though my heart ached when he left. I still remember the night before he moved. He sat beside me and said, "Mom, I'll call you every day." And he did. For a while. The new chapter, he met her, Anna. He first mentioned her casually in one of our phone calls. "She's a friend from work," he said. "You'd like her, Mom. She's smart and funny." I smiled through the phone, pretending I wasn't already imagining her face, her voice, her place in his life. Mothers can sense these things. A few months later, he brought her home for the weekend. I still remember that evening. I'd cooked everything Daniel loved: roast chicken, mashed potatoes, and apple pie. I wanted Anna to feel welcomed. When she walked in, she was polite and sweet. She called me Mrs. Thompson at first, which felt distant, but she smiled warmly. She helped me set the table and even washed the dishes afterward. I thought, what a lovely girl. But deep inside, something quiet stirred. That small, fearful voice every mother has when she realizes her son's world is expanding, and she's becoming a smaller part of it. The wedding. They got married a year later in a small ceremony. Anna looked beautiful, and Daniel looked happier than I'd ever seen him. During the vows, I cried silently. Not because I was sad, but because I knew this was the day I'd been waiting for and dreading all at once. After the ceremony, Daniel hugged me and whispered, "Thank you, Mom, for everything." I remember thinking, I've done my part. Now he belongs to his new life. The move. They moved into a small house about an hour away. Daniel invited me to visit whenever I wanted, but I didn't want to be overbearing, so I waited for him to call. Weeks passed. Then months. The calls became shorter. The "I'll call you later, Mom" became more frequent. I told myself it was normal. Newlyweds need their space. But I couldn't ignore the silence that started filling my evenings. The empty chair at dinner, the quiet kitchen where I used to hear his laughter. So I started knitting again. I joined a small church group. I tried to fill the hours, but nothing really filled the emptiness. The first signs it began subtly. Whenever I visited, Anna seemed polite but cold. She'd smile, but her eyes would shift away quickly. She'd make tea, but never sit down for long. Daniel didn't seem to notice. Or maybe he didn't want to. Once, when I came over unannounced, I saw her face tighten for just a second before she forced a smile. "Oh, Mrs. Thompson, what a surprise." I felt like an intruder in my own son's home. One Sunday, I brought over a homemade casserole, the kind Daniel loved as a boy. Anna thanked me, but placed it in the fridge without opening it. Later, I noticed it was still there, untouched. Little moments like that started piling up. A cold glance here, a quiet sigh there. I brushed it off. Maybe she just liked things her own way. But the distance between us was growing, and I could feel Daniel being pulled to her side more and more. The day I moved in, few years later, Daniel called me. His voice sounded worried. "Mom, are you okay living alone? You've been having those dizzy spells." I laughed it off, but he insisted. "Why don't you come stay with us for a while?" I didn't want to be a burden, but I missed him. I missed us. So I agreed. At first, everything seemed fine. Anna was civil, though her tone was always careful, like every word was measured. She set clear boundaries. "Mom, please don't do the laundry. I've got a system." Or, "Mom, the kitchen works better if we keep it organized this way." I tried to adapt. I stayed quiet, helped where I could, and kept to my room most of the time. But the air was tense. Dinner conversations became shorter. Daniel looked tired all the time. Anna and I rarely made eye contact. The distance grows one night. I overheard them arguing. My room was beside theirs, and though the walls were thin, their voices were hushed, as if they didn't want me to hear. "She's your mother." "Anna," Daniel said. "I know," she replied softly. "But she's always here. I can't relax. It's like I'm living with someone watching me all the time." Daniel didn't respond for a while. Then he said, "She doesn't mean any harm." Anna's voice trembled. "I just want our home to feel like our home." That sentence stayed with me for days. Because I realized, and she wasn't cruel. She just wanted space, but that space came at the cost of mine. The breaking point, it happened on a Sunday morning. I was in the kitchen, making pancakes for Daniel like I used to when he was little. Anna came in quietly, her voice calm but firm. "Mom," she said, "we need to talk." I turned off the stove and faced her. She looked nervous. "Daniel and I have been thinking, it might be better if you had your own place again." My hands froze. I tried to smile. "Did I do something wrong?" She shook her head. "No, not at all. It's just, we need privacy. You deserve your own comfort too." Comfort. That word stung. I knew it wasn't about comfort. It was about space. About control. About boundaries I hadn't even realized I'd crossed. When Daniel came home later, he avoided my eyes. "Mom," he said quietly, "Anna's right. Maybe it's time." And so I smiled. I went to my room, packed my suitcase, folded my clothes slowly. Every fold felt like closing a chapter. Before I left, Daniel hugged me. It wasn't tight like before. It was polite. "Careful. Take care of yourself, Mom." The aftermath, I moved into a small apartment on the edge of town. It was quiet, clean, and empty. The first few nights I couldn't sleep. I kept thinking about the mornings in their house, the smell of coffee, Daniel's laughter echoing faintly, Anna's footsteps in the hallway. Now, there was only silence. I tried calling Daniel a few times. He always answered kindly but briefly. "I'll come by soon, Mom," he'd say. But weeks passed and he never did. I learned to live with the quiet again. I cooked for one. I talked to my plants. I watched the rain hit the window and reminded myself that love doesn't disappear. It just changes form. The letter one evening, I found an old photo album. Daniel as a boy. Messy hair, missing tooth, holding a paper plane. I smiled through tears and decided to write him a letter. "My dear Daniel, I hope you and Anna are well. I just wanted to tell you I'm proud of the man you've become. Don't worry about me. I'm learning to be okay again. I understand that life changes. I just hope you know that no matter how far you go, this heart will always be your home." I didn't expect a reply. But a week later he came to visit, alone. He looked tired, almost guilty. "Mom," he said, sitting on the couch beside me, "I'm sorry. I should have handled things differently." I smiled. "No, dear. You did what you had to do. Every man must choose his own family, and you already gave me mine when you called me Mom." He held my hand. For the first time in months, it felt warm again. The realization after that visit something changed in me. I realized that love isn't about possession. It's about release. I had spent so many years defining myself as Daniel's mother that I forgot I was also Margaret. A woman who once loved to paint, to garden, to bake, to live. So I started again. I joined an art class at the community center. I made friends with a few women my age. We laughed, shared stories, and found joy in small things. Daniel visited occasionally. Anna came once too. She brought flowers. It was awkward. But there was kindness in her eyes this time. Maybe she had grown, or maybe I had finally stopped seeing her as the one who took my son. The quiet forgiveness. A few months later, Daniel called. "Mom, Anna's pregnant." I froze for a second, then smiled. "Congratulations, my dear." When the baby was born, they named her Grace. When I held her for the first time, I felt something heal inside me. Her tiny fingers wrapped around mine, and in that moment, all resentment faded. Anna looked at me and said softly, "I hope she grows up to be as strong as you." That one line, that one small gesture, made everything worth it. The reflection. Now, when I sit by my window with a cup of tea, I often think about the journey that brought me here. Losing closeness with your child feels like losing a part of yourself. But maybe it's not loss. Maybe it's evolution. I learned that love isn't about being needed. It's about being there, quietly, even when you're not seen. Sometimes people don't take from us. They just make space for their own lives. And we have to learn to let them the lesson. If you're a mother listening to this and you feel forgotten, I want you to know something. You are not replaceable. You are not invisible. You are simply moving to a quieter chapter where love speaks in softer ways. Your child may not call every day, they may not visit as often, but the bond you built doesn't disappear. It lives in how they treat others, how they love, how they remember. And if someone ever makes you feel like you've lost your place, remember, you were their beginning, and that is something no one can ever take away. I still visit Daniel sometimes. Anna makes tea, and Grace runs around the living room, her laughter echoing through the same walls where I once felt unwanted. Now, when Anna looks at me, there's no tension, just quiet understanding. Time doesn't erase pain, but it softens it. And love, when given freely, always finds its way back. I no longer need to be the center of their world. I'm content being the gentle light on the edge, always there, quietly shining. And sometimes, when Daniel hugs me goodbye, he whispers, "Love you, Mom." And that's enough. Because even though my daughter-in-law took everything, even my son's love, what I gained back was something deeper. Peace.